The story of our old Thwaites dumper, built between the 60s and the 80s, is deeply tied to one of the biggest projects we've taken on since moving to France to renovate a 200-year-old farm. The project I'm talking about is the major excavation work behind the old barn. While Philippe was well into the digging phase, it quickly became obvious that the soil had to be moved elsewhere. So last summer he found a second-hand dumper not far from where we lived, and after checking it out with Claude, we decided to buy it and bring it home. At first glance, and after seeing and hearing it drive, everything seemed fine. But with old machines, you know things are bound to start malfunctioning eventually. And in the case of our dumper, they did. As the dumper kept working, and boy did it work, moving massive amounts of soil, it slowly began to show signs of wear and tear.
Suddenly it started revving out of its own.
There is a little leak from engine oil between here and the cylinder housing.
It was leaking diesel. The support of this tank broke. The exhaust on the dumper broke. The dumper is very tired. Let's just try to run it a little bit more. The black smoke you see is because the fuel adjustment is not right. It will need to be rebuilt. But now it just needs to hold on a little bit more so I can finish.
That said, we were really happy with this little beast. The price we paid had already more than paid itself back with all the work it had done, and not always in the easiest of conditions. But eventually, just as we started the driveway project, the dumper reached a point where repairs simply couldn't be put off any longer.
As you notice, it's on the end.
Parts were ordered and Philippe drove the dumper down to Claude's workshop. It was time to give this old machine the care it deserved, a full engine rebuild. Pushing it any longer in the state it was wouldn't serve us in the long run, and knowing the projects that lay ahead, we'll really benefit from having the dumper back at full strength to finish two key projects this summer: the excavation behind the barn and the driveway in the front.
Take off the hydraulic reservoir, take off the fuel reservoir, take off this top part, take off the chair. That way we'll have a better access to the engine. So first we're gonna check the injectors, who are here, two of them, like we did with the tractor, and work our way down and see what is wrong. It's not the easiest access to do it, but it is flowing out. I think maybe this hydraulic fluid and the ones I got out of the excavator might use it in tractor, because the tractor needs to be renewed because it's milky, so I think there is moisture in there. Okay. And I call this old, but actually there was a leak, so I always had to refill this a little bit. So this is not old hydraulic, this has been renewed last year in August, so might as well recuperate it for the old tractor a little bit. A lot of what I'm doing now is not original, by the way. This was lower and a lot wider. This plate was not there, but was only half, and your seat was in front. You will have to excuse me for the filming, but there's not a lot of place in here. This is not my workshop, so it's not easy to place the camera. I'm gonna try to empty this. This is where the fuel goes. The hydraulics are empty. This is almost loose, so I can take this off. There's two reservoirs, and then I should be able to access a little bit more. Then I'm gonna look into cutting off these sides, trying to take these ones off and remake them. Well, not remake them, reuse them afterwards, but now they all welded it on. Normally it's not welded on, normally you can take them off to be able to work on it. So I'm gonna grind them off and look at another way to create a support like it used to be. I looked at some pictures, I don't have any measurements, but there used to be supports on the chassis that go out and that hold this and not weld it onto everything. A little piece of pipe, fuel container, let's put it underneath there. Space is very limited in here to film this This is the faucet I'm talking about. Let's keep an eye on it so it stays on. Like I said, you guys can see it now, the air filter, how it's tucked in there. And you will see it once I remove it, how stupid it is. Everything front, everything was closed and they put the air filter in there. And this is the original pipe and air filter, but normally this was halfway. And this is all open, so the little mushroom, I'm gonna call it, was turned upwards and you were taking in fresh air. They closed everything, air-cooled engine, no air coming in to be honest. And you can see it, by the way, I looked at how the cowlings are, I think it's called cowlings, how the air is supposed to move, so you were just taking in hot air and the engine was not cooling properly. So that's why I think personally it got knackered, as they say, or tired, and not from working with me. Okay, it did a lot of work, a lot of work, and it paid itself. But the instant I got it, I took off the front and I took off this. So, and I'm not even a mechanic. I know I'm saying it too much, but just common knowledge. If you look at it, if it's an air-cooled engine, it needs air. So, and if Thwaites built this to be open in front and open here, that's for a reason. Oh. Ah. So you see, this is the mushroom. This is supposed to be turned the other way, so... Whoa. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Normally it shouldn't move like that. Whoa, la 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 la. That's so well made. Oh. Okay, perfect, 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 perfect. At the back, it was held up with this little piece of metal that I had to re-weld twice. Voila. My limited knowledge tells me these are the injectors. Let's remove them, we can test them, see if they open at a good time, like the same we did with the tractor. Yeah. Oui,
Eh oui, tu vois.
Claude. Voilà. Oui, ok, très bien, merci Claude.
Allez, tu vois.
Voilà. Alright, little explanation. I took off the exhaust manifold, the inlet manifold. I took off the cowling around here. So what it does is it takes in air through this, blows the air, goes around this cowling, and then it exits here. So that's what I mean with the hot air would exit here, and they enclosed everything. So this was aftermarket. They enclosed everything. Normally this whole backside until here would have been open, so the air could escape. So that, I think, is one of the reasons why it got so tired. I'm not sure. It is old as well. So anyways, what I'm gonna do is remove this cowling, so we have more access to the two cylinders, and I'm gonna remove those valves, and then keep on going and see where it is going wrong.
Ça c'est joli, ça me fait plaisir ça.
Mais je regarde et j'ai regardé sur internet, ça c'est pas mal, hein?
Non, c'est pas mal, c'est pas mal.
C'est petit peu nettoyé.
Mais alors ça c'est pour faire attention.
So for anyone who's wondering, the cylinders are used. You could feel the ring in there. So And like I said, and like Claude said, the engine is not broken, but it is used. It is done. So it needs new cylinders and pistons and new seals and stuff like that. So here there is an edge in here. So, but the rest looks pretty smooth actually. But this does mean the rings that are on the piston, this has become too large, so the rings don't follow this anymore closely. So there's loss of compression and oil. That's why you see me burning oil. Je suis content que j'ai vu et j'apprends quelque chose.
Ah, tu vois.
Parce que c'est comme tu dis, allez, c'est pas tout le même les moteurs, mais le principe c'est le même.
Voilà.
So basically the cylinder housing, this is worn, and on this, the piston, you have 4 rings, and those are worn as well. So there's a lot of play on them. So that's why in the end I almost had no more power because you had no compression. And on the pistons there's also play like this. And also on the crankshaft we will have to change the bearings as well, because Claude says if we only do the upper parts, the compression might break the bearings on the crankshaft, who are worn as well. So we'll have to take the engine out probably. Oh, this was very crusty. It was not even moving anymore. Okay, number 2. Okay, next up, to get these pistons out and to change the crankshaft bearings, I need to take off the starter with its housing, and then I'll be able to open 2 ports here. So you don't actually have to take the engine out of its place to access inside the crankshaft, which is a good thing. So basically more bolts, unbolt all this, get it out of here, open it up, and then see what Claude says. Now we can take off the first of the little peepholes, or whatever I need to call them. Hoppa. So there's 2 of these, and one was, this one as well was behind the starter motor. So now I have to take off the brackets and the rest, and then we're one step further of taking the pistons out and having a look at what I need to order and degrease everything. The amount of grease is insane. Ça c'est une autre. Où est...
Oh là là là.
Ah là!
Ah mais ça fait le trou là.
Ouais.
Ah ben voilà.
C'est ça qu'on veut.
Et voilà. Allez.
Ok. Voilà. Là, il est desserré.
Oui.
This is what it looks like, and these are the bearings that we'll have to change, and the pistons. This. Ça c'est le boulon en haut, comme ça.
Tiens, remets-le en haut.
Voilà.
Ils y sont tous les deux ou il en manque un? Ou s'il est...
Non, 2. Ils sont 2 là.
Knowing the engine wasn't broken but simply worn down to its core felt like good news. It meant that instead of a full replacement, it would come down to swapping out a lot of parts like the cylinders, bearings, pistons, and eventually rebuilding the back of the dumper as close to its original state as possible. But first, any parts still in good shape needed a thorough scrub to get all that grime off.
relief comme tu dis.
Oui.
Then it was time to head up to Claude's second workshop for some fine-tuning, but not before Philippe got a full explanation from the master mechanic himself on how to tackle this next task.
T'as vu comme il faut faire?
Oui.
Allez, essaie.
Comme ça?
Voilà, comme ça.
Merci d'écouter ici Périgord, c'était Umberto Tozzi avec tout. Créée en 1947, la coopérative intermondiale a su évoluer pour élargir son offre.
Parce que tu as vu, j'ai là, ce coin là.
So, a little explanation. What I'm doing here is those are the valves, and they move like this. So they bring out, they bring in fresh air, and they take out the exhaust. So they move like this. But what I'm doing is I'm grinding them in here with a fine paste, and here. So these two surfaces mate well. So you don't lose any compression towards there. So when they close, they are actually closed. So that's what I'm doing. That's up with a little bit of paste, grinding it flat. This is easy because this engine has been opened up once before, because they bored out the cylinders one size more, which I found you can do in the manual. So that's why we need to put new ones. We can't make it any more bigger. So that's why I'm putting new cylinders with new pistons on it. So, but when they did that the first time, they put in new valves, because you can see they're not worn. So they still have an edge. They're not like a knife, not like this, but more like this, with an edge like this. That means they're not worn. So the only thing I have to do is re-grind them a little bit, clean them up, so they are better. And after that's done, this is the second one, we'll put on the springs and everything, take these ones out, clean the surface a little bit more, then we're ready to put on the cylinders plus the pistons, and then we have to measure it when the piston comes up. The piston comes up like this against this, well, not against it, but there needs to be a certain amount of room, so we'll need to measure that, and according to this we'll have to put in shims. So that needs to be perfect, because as Claude says, on an air-cooled engine like this, if you make that perfect, then it will start every time very smooth and it will run smooth. So anyways, just wanted to show you and a little bit of an explanation what I am doing, because it's the first time for me as well, opening up an engine. But it is interesting to know a little bit on how an engine works, and on this engine it's simple, but the basic idea of this translates to a modern engine as well. It has also, well, not an electric engine, but on a fuel combustion, it has the same valves that bring in fresh air, take out the old air, and the piston moving up and down. So still have some cleaning work to do. Basically you put on this and then you make a fire with the paste in between. Put a little bit of oil on this shaft. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So you can roll it smoothly, and you don't grind this shaft. This shaft you don't touch. It's only this mating surface between this that you want. It's interesting to do this because on the old tractor, well, we have two, the donor tractor, I think there might be something wrong with either this or the piston and cylinders as well. So it's interesting to do it now, because basically on all the old engines it's gonna be the same. It is not a lost skill that I'm learning, let's put it this way. Even though we're electrifying everything, that's still gonna take a good couple of decades, I think, before everything is electrified, and if they haven't changed their mind by then. So you can hear the sound of it grinding. Okay. So next up, you have a little hole here. That's where the diesel fuel comes out. I'm gonna clean it here. I'm gonna clean this. This is where the injector goes. So I'm gonna sand it. And down there, where there will be a seal, I'm gonna try to sand it clean as well. Just trying to give it the best I can do, so this thing can keep on going for another 40 years, or at least 10, I don't know. Next up is clean these springs to move the valves, because they're very dirty. I forgot to clean them. Voilà, we've got them all. Okay. Attends, pas trop. Parce que quand c'est trop, c'est pas facile aussi. Hop, comme ça.
Allez,
Ok, parfait.
allez, tu vois.
Ok.
Et ben voilà.
Alright, because I know some of you are interested, so this is a 2 chevaux. They're gonna restore it fully. So it just came in, it has been welded and de-rusted. So they're gonna work on it, sand it, paint it, and then Claude is gonna put all the mechanics back in. So I will keep you updated on this, because I know there's many of you interested in these kinds of cars. So from time to time that I'm here, I will make a short video or a little update on this little machine. Il y a une là.
Allez, tape là-dessus, avec le marteau là.
Here they're removing a pin to connect the new piston to the old connecting rod, which is still good, and putting on new bearings.
Tu as les deux boulots?
Et tout, moi.
Ok.
Passe de l'autre côté. Et mets ta mère dedans. Que je te la vois là. Là.
Ok. Tout propre.
Allez, boulot.
Ok. Moi, je prends les autres boulons maintenant. Pouf. Non, je mets 4 comme ça maintenant.
Allez, c'est
ok,
bien.
Ok, ça. Ok, je regarde.
Once that was done, it was time to measure the exact spacing needed between the cylinder head and the piston. Remember earlier in the video when Philippe was grinding paste onto 2 valves to ensure proper sealing, one for the intake of air and the other for pushing exhaust fumes out? Well, he also explained this next step.
And then we have to measure it when the piston comes up. The piston comes up like this against this. Well, not against it, but there needs to be a certain amount of room. So we'll need to measure that.
Which they're ready to tackle now. To measure the spacing, they use a piece of solder wire. Perfect for the job because it's soft and malleable. They place it carefully in position, reinstall the cylinder head, and bolt everything down tightly. Once that's done, Claude turns the flywheel, moving the piston upwards until it presses against the cylinder head, crushing the solder wire.
Allez, on redemande.
Ok.
celui-là en bas.
By measuring the thickness of the flattened solder, they can check the precise gap between the piston and the cylinder head. It's a matter of millimeters, but it's crucial for ensuring the engine runs smoothly.
Alright, so this morning we put back the cylinder housings and the valve covers with the valves. We checked the bump clearance. That's the distance between when the piston goes up to its highest point and these top covers, these valve covers. So the first one was good. The second one, we'll have to change the shim that's underneath here. We'll have to get a smaller one, which I have, but we have to take everything off again and get the piston in with that tool. So that I'm gonna do together with Claude. It's easier with two. Now I'm gonna look to clean this fuel delivery side, I'm gonna call it, because it's full on greased as well, and I have some new parts for it as well, so to rebuild these pumps maybe, because yeah, they're all loose and coming out. So I have all parts for it, hopefully the correct parts. Up, this goes back in now, but we'll see. Clean it up first, put these covers back on with the right seals as well. Just do all the little stuff that I don't need Claude for, that I can do on my own. Remove this one, this handle, which makes the engine stop. I'm gonna put in a wire and maybe put it all on here on top. Put a start button there, put an hour meter there so I can maintain the engine properly. So I want to change some stuff and also remove the welds that have been created afterwards, like these star ring things, cut them off. Try to get the machine back to its former standardized self, if I can call it that way, because these things are just getting in the way. This as well, normally you'll be able to remove this to work on the engine. Now they welded it all on, so you can't remove it. So I want it back as much to standard as possible. Okay, let's see if we have some seals for this. About all this stuff and the cylinder housing, everything from a shop in the UK called Stationary Engine Parts. 2 days later it was here in France, so I'm very happy. It's not cheap, but you have all that you need if you want to redo the whole engine. I don't need everything. I hope I have what I need in here too. I'm not 100% sure. It should be. Well, it's not in here. Let's check the other ones I have. This would be funny again that I have all the seals except one. Ah, no, it's in here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. This is what I need. Okay, good, good, good. I'm happy. Hopefully this engine will leak a lot less as well. Like this, okay. So a lot of these were also silicone then, I don't know why. Maybe I'll know if it starts leaking, but normally you just use a seal like that, clean everything up, use a seal and be done with it. So, but we'll see. Okay, I'm missing one bolt that I've lost while working with it, so I'm gonna search in a Claude drawer of all kinds of bolts, and I'm sure I'm gonna find one. So that's done as well. I'm just gonna put some paper in. I'm not gonna put the joints back in, the seals back in, because I still want to clean this, and I don't want to tamper. If you use gasoline or something and it hits rubber joints, they just perish. So I'm gonna wait with putting them in. Okay, 2 seconds of searching. I found the same one, same size. It should be fine. Only the head is a little bit smaller, but that doesn't matter. Let's see if it takes the thread. looks the same. Let's have another look. Okay, this one is exactly the same. If this is different, then I'm crazy. Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's get this exhaust out of here because it's bothering me. Voila. Much easier. Would love to grind these away, but like Claude says, I have been cleaning with gasoline here. And a lot of the stuff on the ground needs to be cleaned up first, so I don't have a explosion here. Okay, next up, you are going away because I'm gonna replace you with a cable, which is going to be a lot better and a lot easier to stop the engine from on top and always trying to reach down. And this is to stop the engine. This would sometimes, because it's not original, I think it would sometimes fall down here and then I wouldn't be able to stop the engine, or I had to reach down into the abyss to try and find it. So there you go. So I'm gonna take this fuel pump off, and I think it's a different one. It's already an aftermarket one, I think. This one will be original. So what is the problem is these rubber bellows that you see are worn and they stop dirt and grime entering the pump. On this one I would be able to put it back on, but on this one the copper bushing, or the copper that normally stays inside, is worn, so it comes open like this, so all dirt just enters. I've never opened up a pump, so we'll see how it goes. But it needs to be done. If I leave it like this, it's already taken up so much dirt, it's gonna only get worse. Okay, got it. All new, but we got it.
So with the fuel pump disassembled and set aside for later, it was time for them to install the correct cylinder base shim. That meant dismantling the cylinders once again to replace it. Next was putting it all back together, and before they could slide the cylinder over the pistons, the piston rings needed to be compressed first. Next it was time to mount the two cylinder heads, the parts where both the exhaust and inlet manifolds will eventually be installed. But before anything can be tightened down one last time, the heads have to be perfectly aligned. If they're even slightly off, it could cause the manifolds to crack when everything gets bolted together.
Voilà.
To make sure they're spot on, they use a metal straight edge, like a precision ruler, to check that both heads are perfectly aligned with each other. Once they're sure everything lines up perfectly, they tighten all the bolts one last time.
Oh!
Qu'est-ce que t'as cassé?
Non, je dois faire attention avec
Ah oui.
mes pièces de ça. Hein.
Ah oui, ça.
Okay, a little bit more light. So, cylinder housing, pistons done, where the valves get controlled, so the valve cover and everything I have to put back. Everything has been aligned, so for the exhaust to go on and the air intake is done as well. So what I'm gonna do now is on the other side here with me, I'll show you in a bit. I'm gonna put back the push rods which control the springs on top of here, which open and close the valves per cylinder. So I'm gonna put those back with new seals and everything. So yeah, a little bit more work. So these valve covers need to go back, and this is what controls the valves to go open and closed. So this goes back like something like this. Before I can put back the cover, I need to put these push rods. These are the ones that push on here and then push on these springs that open and close the valves. So if you look at these now, it's interesting, you will see how they move. One comes up, and the other one comes up, and then it's probably the other piston that's going. So I'm gonna put this side back first before I put on the cover, because this goes back and these little, don't know if you can see it, these little two ones go inside those push rods. So we're getting there. I'm very happy. Everything is going very smoothly at the moment, so let's keep it up.